Hello and welcome to Kerbal Space Project, Episode 4, with me, Proximus. So, moment of truth. Does, when the physics engage, this just explode? No. That's a good start! Now, does it leave the launch pad? 3, 2, 1. Big rocket go now! It's going a little bit. I would have liked it to have gone more. Well, it may yet still come good. You just have to wait for these things sometime. Okay, first stage change. Let's see if it survives when the solid rocket boosters run out of fuel. Can we still actually keep on accelerating towards space? And 2, do the rocket boosters hit some of the tanks on the way past and blow them up? We're slowing down. We're still going. We may have lost the central rocket, but hey, that shed some weight apparently, and we're now very slowly starting to speed back up again. So let's let this rocket run its course, because it's a plucky rocket, and even though parts of it have exploded, it wants to keep on going. So let's see if it can not explode when the next stage goes off. Hooray! We didn't explode. Those bits did, but hey, they weren't attached to us, so it doesn't count. Now, we're starting to pick up speed now, but again, we're going to run into the problem is, do we have enough ability to gain speed so that we can get into orbit around Kerbin to start with, and then make the transit to the moon, and then orbit the moon, and then land on it? It's probably going to be a bit touch and go there. But hopefully if we can get into orbit just on these orange fuel tanks, then we have all of this fuel to transit and this fuel to land. So I think trying to get back might be a bit of an issue, but let's just see if we can get there and anti-jinx ourselves to not make a very high-speed impact crater on the moon with the very finest of Kerbin technology. Hooray, we're going to get into space, that's good. So now let's try and flatten our orbit out a bit while we're still quite low down, so we have plenty of time before we start returning into the atmosphere. I'm starting to think that those RCS placements were probably not ideal. It doesn't really handle that well under RCS. But hey, it did the job. So now let's get into a circular orbit. Oh, isn't that pretty? It's like a flower spiraling through space. Eventually it'll be a spot of light spiraling through space, because you can see this engine here is getting through fuel a lot slower than all of these other ones. Yeah, we're kind of in a fairly intense spin here. I can't actually get out of this spin. But that's okay, because these fuel tanks are running out soon. And I should probably not detach that middle one, so we're going to just add another action there. There we go, so now we can dump all of... that was some lag. Hey, they go spiraling out really nicely because of the spinning there. And can we now stop spinning so much? Can we please? Can we please stop spinning? Ooh, yeah, that was making me a little bit nauseous just watching that HUD spin around and around and around. Alright. Ooh, we've we've actually got, let's just kill the engine there. Got quite a high apoapsis, so if we go up here, add a maneuver, and let's bring up that periapsis so that it's no longer buried in the ground. So get that fairly even. That's alright, there we go. And now let's angle ourselves towards that, and then let's just coast up through the blackness of space. Now that's probably something I should do, is you can, get lights to stick on stuff. Should probably stick some of those on so when it is dark I can light stuff up and then it will look quite cool. There's a little bit of light. I'm not sure where that's coming from. It seems to be emanating from the bottom of the capsule. Oh, maybe it's that ladder piece. We'll just whack that down, we may as well. It's starting to get a bit jittery now because there's quite a lot of SAS force on this quite small thing. So I've just turned on fine controls with caps lock, just so that it's a little less twitchy as hell. Because the last thing you want to do is kind of doing an end over end spiral in orbit, because it tends not to make a very nice smooth orbit. Now we're in a nice orbit. We're not going to enter the atmosphere. We're going to extend all these solar panels, make sure we have sufficient electric charge, because we're going to engage MechJeb. Come on, click on the panel. Come on. They're giant ones. How can I not click on them? And extend. So there we go. So now we're getting a nice bit of electric charge building up. So now we're going to open the MechJeb panel, and we're going to go to the map mode and select the moon as the target. First thing we're going to do is on rendezvous mode, we're going to align the orbits. So this will do what I did in the last bit of the sparkle orbit, which is just to get it into a nice flat orbit. So we'll let it do its thing, hopefully not screw up. I'm just going to remove this marker there. So this is where MechJeb is useful, is kind of these kind of small maneuvers that are just a little bit fiddly, especially if you're as clumsy and ham-fisted as me. Also, the keyboard's not particularly good for small corrections. It's a digital input rather than analog. If there was some kind of controller support, so you could kind of incrementally, smoothly move it around. Ooh, that's a bit wobbly there. Might need to put some structural supports between these bits over here, but it's not exploded yet, so you never know. So there we are. It's now just burning to match planes, so that'll reduce. There you go. You can see it going down, so that'll go down to 0. There we go. So now we can get rid of rendezvous mode and go to orbital operation. Going to go to transit, and we want to burn for a moon intercept. So again, MechJeb is going to take control, and hopefully there's enough fuel to do this. We don't actually have to gain a lot of speed, so it's mainly just kind of changing the orientation of the course. There's quite cool animations on this when the MechJeb activates. Got this nice kind of brain with kind of sparkly animations, and the case opens up, so you can it kind of is a visual reminder that it's working, which is quite cool. Yep, that's definitely a wobble. I think you're going to import that, just because that shaking is little insane. go. Bloody hell. Oh. It's starting to lag, which means that something's about to give way. See if warping it helps. No, we're under acceleration apparently. I don't think this is going to end well. It seems to have built some kind of sidewinder missile. It's just shaking all over the place. It's not even doing anything. Oh my goodness. Well, we've learnt that metal is flexible, apparently. I'm sure that if they were real pilots and the spaceship started doing this, they'd be crapping themselves a lot more than they are right now. They just seem kind of slightly concerned. Not like pushing the abort button with all of their might. Let's see if what happens when we eject that bottom section. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, that's what the problem was. I'm not sure why that was the problem, but it was the problem. Maybe I just need to... yeah, some more structural supports on that would probably help. We're going to have to edit this design because we're now on the lander tanks for fuel. And I'd quite like to have enough fuel to actually land. But it is quite a spectacle. Hey look, we're flying straight at the moon. Okay, and here, now that MechJeb's got us into a moon encounter, you can see the gravity sling effect. Now this is used by current spaceships to get a gravitational boost, i.e. to get some acceleration without having to use their engines. So what they do is they plot a course near to a gravitational object. They get caught in that gravity and escape, but they escape with a much greater velocity. So you can see here that our orbit, without the moon there, would come back round Kerbin. Just in this over here, but because we have this interaction with the gravity of the moon, we get this much larger ring. So if we arrange that, so we got a gravity sling around the moon and then another one around Minmus, we might be in a good position to be able to have some decent velocity across the plane of the cosmos rather than just kind of slightly faster than Kerbin but still in the same orbit. So now MechJeb's got us in this very nice encounter here. I'm going to use good old-fashioned Kerbin power and get us in an orbit around the moon here. Try and get it reasonably circular. That'll do. So basically, if we were to not do that, we would exit the moon here. Now this is kind of a bit weird because it's very disjointed, but if you kind of look at it, this is that purple ring that we saw earlier. So this, if we miss on this blue ring and we hit this escape, we actually end up here. This blue track is actually now in relation to the moon's gravity, and this brown kind of, yeah, it's kind of yellowy brown track is what we're doing kind of in respect to Kerbal. So we've got about 3/4 of the fuel left to try and make an attempted landing. I think that's probably maybe enough, but we'll see how much is left after we do this retro burn to get caught in the gravity of the moon. Okay, now you can see how close we are to the moon. I say close, we're still 100,000 meters up. It looks very close, just because the moon is smaller. It's very strange in that when you're this close to Kerbal, it kind of still fills your whole screen, but this looks like it's closer because the moon is smaller. It's some kind of optical illusion, or maybe it's just my brain playing tricks on me, which is a lot more likely. So let's have a check. And yes, we're now successfully in the gravity well of the moon. So I'm going to leave it there for this episode, and next episode we'll attempt to land the SS crater without coming on to its namesake, and then what we'll do is we're probably going to have to leave that on the moon because there's not enough fuel in it, but it's a good design in theory. And then we'll move on to again the HMR Sparkle and bring up some resource pods, so maybe some more habitation modules using the Habican, and then battery and fuel modules, as well as probably an improved land design, because this one kind of won't really fit and there's a lot of extra stuff that I just put on there because it looked cool. But if we're taking it, halfway across the cosmos, we might want something that's a little bit more streamlined and functional, as boring as that sounds. So I've been Proximace, this has been Kerbal Space Project episode 3, and I'll see you all next time.